Hey everybody, this video is going to highlight 3 posture faults when shooting and how those can affect your shoulder health, back health, and performance of those regions as well. Now, it's important to understand that when it comes to positions and movements in archery or any sport really, there are always outliers, there are always exceptions. What we're looking at is what's going to be optimal for most people or the general population of archers as far as what we want to see for joint function and overall function of the moving parts in archery. So take these as far as a general guideline and understand that you may see differences between archers, but overall this is a good central point that we can then deviate from a little bit. Let's dive into the 3 postures. The first posture fault that we'll look at is a hyperextension of the lower back and an excessive forward tilting of the hips. So what this is characterized by is a large arch in the lower back. The belt buckle drops down towards the floor. And even if you look at the belt line, you can think about the belt line as like a rim of a bowl of water, and water would be spilling out the front of the bowl. So between this forward tilting of the hips and the large arch in the lower back, this hyperextension causes a couple of different problems. The first problem that it causes is just in general, this is an excessive engagement of the lower back and a lack of engagement of the core musculature on the front and sides of the torso. This excessive engagement can lead to a general discomfort, strain, fatigue, and general cramping feeling in the lower back. And this is not limited to shooting. This is something you certainly can feel in shooting, but also just in general life. It's a bad habit that we don't want to see for lower back health and for health of the hips and the lower back complex. And when it comes to shooting, when we get this hyperextension, either while drawing or while at full draw, it deteriorates our ability to do some important things up top. So what we've done if we have that hyperextension is we've compromised our foundation or our center, and it makes it a lot harder to achieve positions up through the shoulder blades, shoulders, and shoulder girdle. And it also makes it more difficult to effectively execute our movements because again, this foundation or this center is compromised. So my shoulders are not going to be as effective in finding positions and then achieving movements like that back tension engagement of the shoulder blade retracting and the bow shoulder position staying down and solid. When the lower portion is not in position how it needs to be, then everything upstream or everything built on top of that center is not going to function as optimally. So what we want to see instead is a neutral midsection. Not excessive hyperextension. We don't need to be excessive in the other direction, but finding that middle ground. By finding that neutral center, then everything up above that foundation is going to be more effective, going to be stronger, going to be more stable, and is going to be healthier overall. The second postural fault that we're looking at is the fault of excessively leaning away or leaning back in full draw. Now, the disclaimer that I gave at the beginning of this video really holds true here, where there are some great high-level archers that shoot well by leaning back away. And by no means do I take away from them, and what they do works for them. Remember, there are no absolutes when it comes to movements in position. What we're looking at here is what's going to be most structurally sound and solid from an anatomical perspective and a physiology perspective for most archers. And the main reason why this posture can cause issues, in particularly the shoulder girdle, is when the archer is leaning back and away, that shoulder tends to want to come forward. It's very difficult to lean away with the torso, but still be pushing forward with the arm. Those opposing forces, when all this mass is moving back and we're still trying to push, is very difficult to do for most archers, not all. So if an archer finds themselves leaning back and away from the target and from the bow, that shoulder often wants to drive back into the archer as well, rise up and collapse. And we know if that shoulder collapses from the compressive force of the bow, that can put that shoulder in a compromised, vulnerable position because that shoulder joint gets unstable. It no longer braces as well. That shoulder blade does not sit and anchor as well in the bow shoulder when we collapse and drive it back. So this is where that position that's often referred to as the T position is going to allow the shoulder girdle to sit most effectively and allow the archer to push forward and drive forward into the bow, which is going to be the healthiest, strongest, most stable position for that bow shoulder. The ultimate reason why archers a lot of times will lean away is because they're countering the weight of the bow. The weight of the bow that's out in front of them requires muscular work to hold up, and by countering the weight of that bow forward, by sending my weight back, it is a little bit easier to hold. So it's one of those faults that makes sense because it does make that component easier, but here we're not looking to get away from work, we're not looking to make anything easier. We want to see, okay, what's going to align that spine, allow the shoulder blades to set and hold strong, and then ultimately be strong and stable out into the extremity. And that is going to be a vertical, linear position with the torso where the arms achieve that T position, opposed to that lean back, which often wants the shoulder to come with it. If I'm going back, the shoulder often wants to come back too. This is the third and final fault that we'll look at in posture for an archer. Now this one is unique, and it's really important to understand how it differs from the hyperextension we saw in the first fault and then the lean back we saw in the second fault. And the reason why this one is unique is because it's not always fixable by just cueing yourself or changing something immediately in your shot. And what this fault is a forward roll of the upper back and shoulders. So where we want to be is a chest that would display a logo, where my torso can be upright, my upper back is in slight extension, is the ideal position. However, due to a lack of function, we can sometimes see a rounding forward of the upper back and of the shoulders. Now, the reason why I say that this can't always be cued immediately out of an archer, or you can't look at yourself in a video and immediately get yourself out, is because some archers and some people are going to have an upper back or a thoracic spine that lacks extension, where they're a little bit stuck in this forward folded position, where we want to see a little bit more of an extended upper back. That's something that's unfortunately just caused in modern day by a lot of our habits, whether we're sitting at a computer a lot, whether we're on our phones a lot, or just sitting in a position there where we have a poor posture. We begin to get molded into that rounded position with the upper back, shoulder blades round forward. And if we spend enough time there without doing anything to combat that position, we can get stuck there. So if that's the case for an archer, where they lack extension, they lack a retracted position of the shoulder blades, then they may have to go to corrective exercises to reverse that position, where they can be more extended, where they can be in a more retracted, open position in the chest, in an engaged position in the upper back, where we see a torso like so, opposed to a torso here. So this becomes a little bit tricky. The overall goal here is that you want to know, okay, when I'm in that shot, chest should be proud, shoulders should be down, and I should be a little bit extended through the upper back. Where I don't want to be is rounded through the upper back and shoulders rounded forward. If you can work and cue yourself out of that, but don't get frustrated if you find, hey, I feel like I'm stuck there, I feel like I'm glued there, I feel like I'm molded there, because the case may be that the shoulder blades, the upper back, need to have a change in function through something like corrective exercise to reverse that poor posture that we're seeing and to get the individual to a better position. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that you found this video valuable. Remember, look at these postures and these posture faults as a center point. And remember that everybody's body's a little bit different. So we're going to see deviation in each direction. But as long as you understand the center point and how not to get too far into a fault one way or another, you'll put yourself in the best position in regards to your anatomy and how your moving parts work, and your physiology and how those moving parts can keep you away from pain, prevent injury, and ultimately allow your performance to be at as high of a level as possible, because shooting is most fun when you are effective and when you are accurate. Hit the like button if this was something that you found valuable and enjoyed. You can also subscribe to my channel here for more topics focusing on the archer, strength training for the archer, rehab for the archer, and ultimately improving the physical capability of you as an archer. Lastly, archerystrong.com has a lot more information in regards to training, and you can also contact me there if you would like. Thank you.